Guesstimation is a 3 to 4 player game. To play, you'll need some post-it notes, red tiles, blue tiles, green tiles, a bag of yellow tiles, the Think Square overlay, and the number knockout board. The aim of Guesstimation is to be the first player to reach the 20th square, racing your opponents. Play starts with every player placing a tile on the number 3. This is to indicate where they're at on the running track. You can move up and down the running track in a whole bunch of different ways, but the main way is to try to guess correctly the fun fact. So, for example, the game might begin with the yellow team coming up with a fun fact. And let's imagine they came up with the fun fact of what is the world's heaviest pumpkin. All the other players would have to write down their guesses. So green would write down a guess, maybe 200 kilograms. They put this face down in the center. Red might write 600 kilograms. It's a pretty heavy pumpkin, but they'll put that in the center. And then blue would write down their answer, and they might write down 60 kilometers, and that would be a bit silly because you don't weigh pumpkins in kilometers, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And then once they're all face down, the answers get revealed. And each player can look at the answers and then they can place a bet. If they bet, they lose some of their squares that they're on the running track at the time. So let's imagine that red was fairly confident in their own answer and they wanted to bet an extra 2 tiles. That's the maximum you can bet. They would place 2 of their tiles on their answer. They would move their running track person back 2 spaces. And we'll talk about what happens at the end. Green might bet 1 tile on red as well. So they've moved back 1 space, placed 1 tile in there. And blue doesn't know what they're doing. They're not going to bet at all. So they would remain where they are. So they're at the moment in the lead. Yellow, while they're creating their answers and while they're betting on the answers that they've seen, yellow would be looking up the answer for the fun fact. They can Google it or find it from wherever. Yellow, after everyone's bet and revealed their answers, would then tell the other players what the actual result is. And if you didn't know, the world's heaviest pumpkin is actually 1,054 kilograms. So red did win, which means their bet is worth double whatever they risked. So they risked 2, which means they get to move forward 4. So they were on 1 and they moved forward 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're now on square 5. Green risked 1, and so they get 2. 1, 2, for getting it right. Blue didn't risk anything, so it doesn't get anything. And then the player who was closest also gets rewarded with a bonus 2 squares. So red would get to move forward another 2 squares. Then the new round would begin. Yellow, since they were the fun fact person, they get a square just because they didn't get a chance to play in that round. Then the next person, blue, would come up with a new fun fact. If at any stage a player keeps betting and loses all their points and they're down here, they can't place a bet because they don't have any squares to bet. So if a player was on 0 or 1, they can't place 2 tiles as a bet because they don't actually have 2 to give. The idea is to get to 20 before anybody else, and you need to use the correct unit of measurement before 60 kilometers. If that was the closest answer, blue wouldn't get it right because it's in kilometers when it needs to be in kilograms.